Chapter 511. I like it when you're happy. That fan of Lin Che's also witnessed the scene from the back. He said lightly, exactly. What is a small opera actress? You guys know that Gu Jingze's wife, Mrs. Gu, was the focus of WW party. She is the #1 socialite. What is one Sulin? Humph. She dares to eye Gu Jingze. I'm not watching her performances in the future. The WW party. Although many of the people here were rather rich, they were not quite qualified enough to attend the WW party. They heard this and were extremely impressed. No wonder the few of them had such extraordinary auras. They weren't ordinary people at all. Gu Jingze's face was calm throughout the journey while Lin Che felt angry, especially when she saw that woman dare to give the scarf. Damn it, Lin Che hadn't even given him a scarf before. It was such an intimate item and Sulin simply handed it to him. She turned to look at Gu Jingze and thought, this man better stay out of trouble and not come out so often. Even watching an opera would attract girls to him. The few of them went to the manor. Since it was late, Gu Jingyan also prepared to stay for the night. Liu Baikan got out of the car and said, since it's rare for us to gather like this, let's play cards tonight. Gu Jingze said, do you still intend to lose a few million yuan to me? To President Liu now, a few million yuan is not something I can look up to. Liu Baikan knew that Gu Jingze was referring to an incident while they were in high school. He came over to play as they lacked one person. He invited Gu Jingze and ended up almost losing his pants that night. In the end, he didn't dare to tell his family that he lost a few million yuan to Gu Jingze. Thus, he secretly sold a car at home. When Liu Qinyu found out, Liu Baikan was given a good beating. Liu Baikan retorted, hey, did you think that I'll still be as bad as back then? I've been honing my skills over the years. Gu Jingyan responded, how late is it already? Didn't it occur to you that the husband and wife still have some things that they need to do on their own? Liu Baikan heard this and said, oh, you're right, you're right. I didn't think about that. Lin Che quickly asked, what? What? She hastily pinched Gu Jingze and urged him to say something. Gu Jingze frowned. If you want to get touchy with me, we'll get touchy back in our room. Be more humble outside. This was called touchy. However, the other two couldn't stand it even more. Liu Baikan said, never mind, Jingyan, we shouldn't stay. Gu Jingze also did not stand on ceremony. He turned to look at Liu Baikan. There are still cars outside. If you can't stay, you can still leave now. After he said this, he tugged Lin Che along and headed straight inside. Liu Baikan shook his head speechlessly. Isn't that a little too anxious? He looked at the closed door and really felt that. He used to think that the high and mighty Gu Jingze would never ever reveal a single hint of lust. Now, he was actually much more passionate. Although his face was still so moody, there was still someone who could banter with him like this. Liu Baikan said to Gu Jingyan, this Lin Che really has big guts. I've never seen anyone pinch Gu Jingze before. Well, they are married. Why not? Ha, but to see Gu Jingze, a person whom nobody dared to touch, be abused by a woman, my heart still has not reacted to that yet. The old Gu Jingze would never get close to anyone no matter where he was. The people who dared to get close to and interact with him were few, much less one who dared to move a muscle on him. He had never seen it in so many years. Seeing it today naturally surprised him. Inside, Gu Jingze was indeed impatient. As soon as the door closed, Gu Jingze already pressed her against the door. His hands were placed at her sides, making a loud and accurate thud against the wall. Lin Che looked at him. What are you doing? Quick, go inside. They haven't left. Weren't you already getting all touchy with me outside just now? Gu Jingze's breath intentionally circled around her and occasionally hit her in the face. His lips were also deliberately brushing against hers. I was warning you. But Gu Jingze no longer cared about her words. He went straight up to her and kissed her, pushing her against the door forcefully. Lin Che still remembered what happened just now. Being attacked by his kisses now made her head feel like it was going to explode. She was too useless. How could she already be falling for him just by his kiss? However, it was also probably difficult to find a woman who wouldn't fall just by a kiss like his. She could only use her last ounce of logic and plainly blurt out her complaints. Wasn't there some opera star just now? She took the initiative to come up to you. You rejected her and now you're coming back to me for what? Gu Jingze's lips still didn't move away. She's not as good as you. How is she not as good as me? Lin Che's heart lit up. How did he know the right words to say today? Her chest is not as big as yours. She took back her surprise. Idiot, don't touch me, Lin Che said. Hey, Gu Jingze pulled her back again. That was a compliment. What kind of compliment was that? As Gu Jingze spoke, his hands were already reaching up. That soft feeling, coupled with his touch, made her face blush with shyness. It was really like magic. It instantly ignited his body. He finally hugged her. How else do you want me to say it? I'm telling the truth. Looking at her doesn't give me any feeling at all, but looking at you, He placed her directly on the bed. His hands were already tracing the hem of her skirt and they directly went in. I want you. Was this really a compliment? She was very doubtful. However, his hand was already inside. It made Lin Che's entire body tighten up. She was also in a daze and couldn't care about anything else. She grabbed onto his neck tightly. In her dazed state, she seemed to hear him say, I like to see you feel good. I like to see you so happy. I like to make you lose control. Lin Che, you've never seen how beautiful you look now. Lin Che was really completely dazed. It was such a blur that she couldn't tell if it was all real or a dream. When Lin Che was finally exhausted, she thought that she could sleep in peace. But there were sounds from outside. It sounded like two people fighting. After that, one person slammed the door and left. Lin Che froze and sat up. Gu Jingze frowned and went out to check what was going on. Sir, it seems like Miss and Sir Lu had a fight. Miss left in her anger. What? Lin Che also hurried out to see. She saw Lu Baikan standing at the door. He looked angrily outside and his face was dark. It was definitely uglier than the night sky outside. It looked like it was going to rain outside. The weather did not look good. Lu Baikan turned back and saw Lin Che and Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze said, hurry up and look for her. It's going to rain soon and we're in a foreign land. Lu Baikan asked, her? Get lost. She won't get lost. How would you know? Gu Jingze grunted and instructed his people, everybody, find Jingyan. The guards really went to look for her. After a long time, they then said that she was really missing. They couldn't find her. Chapter 512. The woman who ran away is inside. The guards said that they searched all around the area but couldn't find her. They also already expanded their search area and were still searching. However, this side was at the edge of the country and there was not much surveillance around. Whoever left this place would really be difficult to find. To make things worse, Lu Baikan realized from inside the room that Gu Jingyan didn't take her wallet or phone. She didn't have any credit card or cash on her. Where was she going with absolutely nothing on her? Lu Baikan then started to panic. He went outside and called for people to find her. Lin Che was also very worried. She also didn't dare to disturb Gu Jingze when she saw that he wasn't talking. She wanted to let him have his peace and quiet and think of what to do. After an hour, she was still nowhere to be found. Gu Jingze pulled Lu Baikan by his shirt collar. If anything happens to Jingyan. I know, I won't let anything happen to her. Lu Baikan pried Gu Jingze's hands away and strode out. Gu Jingze went after him. It better be that way. Watching the two men fight over Gu Jingyan, Lin Che didn't know what to say behind them. All the guards were already activated because of Gu Jingyan. When Lin Che went out, she saw that the sky was already starting to light up. The manor seemed so quiet. She didn't know what to do, so she decided to join in the search too. However, it was only after searching one round outside when she realized that she had rushed out and didn't take any of her belongings either. Actually, she couldn't help and be useful, but she didn't want to wait at home while everyone was panicking. She wanted to come out for a breath of fresh air. In the end, she walked one round and realized she had forgotten her stuff. Just then, some people saw Lin Che. They looked at her and walked towards her one by one. Lin Che suddenly had a bad feeling. Hey, miss, how come you're alone? Where did you come from? Lin Che couldn't understand their foreign language. She could only say, I'm sorry, I don't know you guys. I'm heading back now. My husband is waiting for her. Naturally, they couldn't understand what she was saying either. These people seemed to have returned from drinking. They couldn't care less and grabbed her. Come, let's continue drinking. Miss, you're such a pretty lady. How can you not drink with us? Let go of me, Lin Che yelled, but she was only one girl and she couldn't fight against these men. Inside the manor, Lu Baikan did not expect Gu Jingze to just leave and disappear without taking anything with her. Lu Baikan sat there and waited for updates. Because of the time difference, it was daytime on the other side. Thus, Fu Chengxi called and said that there was some trouble at her apartment. He was the one who found the apartment for her, so he had a few words with her. Just like that, he quarreled with Gu Jingze. For the past few days, the pair originally got along quite well while on their work trip here. Although they would bicker as they usually did, it was mostly about work and not their personal lives. However, today. Just then, the Lu family's search party returned. First young Master Gu's search party said that they already found her. Found her, I'll go see her. But young madam doesn't want to come back. Lu Baikan heard this the moment he got up. He clenched his fists tightly. Then, he continued to grab his coat. Where is she? She met someone along the way who probably flirted with her. Young madam left with that person in her fit of anger. He seemed to be a local ruffian selling lavender essential oils and wines. He is a very famous gangster in this area. Lu Baikan heard this and his face was already getting darker and darker. This Gu Jingze. She left with a gangster and was not coming back. Lu Baikan simply said, take me there. He just wanted to see which cellar the gangster dared to take his wife. Gu Jingze was resting well inside. Gu Jingze looked at her outside. He took a deep breath and said, Jingze, stop kicking a fuss. Come back with me, it's dangerous here. Brother, there is danger everywhere. It is even more dangerous at home. My husband doesn't like me and my status can get me killed anytime. I always thought that I could lead a very simple life, but it's only getting more complicated. I don't want to go back. You. Hearing Gu Jingze's voice, he also knew that she just had alcohol. That was why she talked so stubbornly and waveringly. Just then, someone behind whispered, Lu Baikan is coming. He's on the way and will probably be here in 10 minutes. Gu Jingze looked inside. He stared for a while and then waved his hand. Let's go. Well miss. It's their personal affair, let them settle it themselves. If he can't coax his wife to go back with him he's not worthy to be Jingyan's husband. Alright. What he said was right. Since Lu Baikan was coming, Miss should also be fine. One row of people left and another row of people came in. In the room, Gu Jingze was drinking with that local ruffian. The local ruffian was called Bernard. In all his years here, he had met many beautiful women but never as beautiful as this woman. Although she was of the yellow-skinned race, her skin was even fairer than a Caucasian's. Furthermore, her body looked as smooth as silk. When she walked on the streets, she really looked like a saint from an oil painting. Thus, he went straight up to her and flirted with her. Little did he expect her to really say that she wanted to have a drink. Thus, he naturally brought her here. Once they started drinking, he then realized that she could really drink. She had already drunk quite a lot while he himself was already feeling buzzed. The more he looked at this woman, the more beautiful he found her. Hey, gorgeous, drink some more. She replied, but of course. Go get me more wine. She simply kicked the man. No woman had ever dared to do that to him, but he was also so stunned by her that he was willing. He quickly went and poured more wine. Meanwhile, Lu Baikan finally arrived. This manor looked much smaller than the one Gu Jingze was staying at. Gu Jingze was in the vineyard. From a distance, he could see her lying there and enjoying her wine. Meanwhile, that local ruffian gangster was serving her diligently like a queen. This Gu Jingyan. She was really brazen. Gu Jingyan, come out here. Liu Baikan rolled up his sleeves and was ready to fight. He stood at the door as his face flushed red. He looked as if he was going to burst. This Gu Jingyan who only knew how to attract bees and butterflies really must have had a death wish. She ran away from home and then went to unwind with some stinky foreign man. Bernard heard him, walked out, and looked at Liu Baikan. Who are you? The woman inside is my wife. You're asking me who I am? I'll tell you. You better open this door. Ha, how can she be your wife? If it's true, then you're not treating her well. Such a pretty woman in your hands would be a waste. Just give her to me. You. Chapter 513. I won't let you off here if you don't release her. Liu Baikan's expression changed. I dare you to say that again, he said as he lunged forward, raising his fist up to give a punch. Thankfully, his people had sharp eyes and were already familiar with their young master's temper. When it came to other things, their first young master was still considered calm. Although he usually had the domineering look of a wealthy family's son, he was a proper man. After all, it was impossible to deny that the Liu family was rich. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. How could he not grow up arrogant? Furthermore, this bit of arrogance was also well liked by everyone. It was just that when it came to his wife like this time, his arrogance made him lose his logic. He would cause trouble for no reason. They were in a foreign country. Did he think that he could leave in peace if he fought a local ruffian? How could they answer to the family if he got injured? That person got scared. He had seen all kinds of threats and was used to it, but he rarely saw anyone dare to challenge himself. He took a step back. He saw that Liu Baikan was taller and looked prouder. It still made him rather fearful. Liu Baikan was held down. He gritted his teeth as he looked at the person slumped inside. He looked at the woman who was obviously already drunk. He was so angry that he simply wanted to go over, drag her out, and take her back. But he was far from doing so. Why was this woman so willing to attract people? She only knew how to cause trouble. She even ran away from home this time. Gu Jingyan, are you coming out or not? Bernard turned to look. Gu Jingyan was already lying down and obviously sleeping. She was finally drunk. He scoffed coldly and looked at the man in front of him. Now, she's not listening to you. It looks like she's not willing to go back with you. You'd better leave. Liu Baikan glared at Bernard. I'm not leaving if she is not leaving. You better bring her out this instant. Otherwise, I'll make sure you regret it. Ha, I've seen this kind of threat too many times in my life. However, I've rarely seen yellow-skinned people like you who dare to treat me this way. What about yellow-skinned people? Ha, I've also rarely seen a minion who judges people based on skin color like you. You. Liu Baikan said, I'll give you a chance. Bring her out. We only came here for a vacation. We don't want to cause trouble. How could Bernard hand her over so easily? Especially after being called a minion. Give her to you. How do I know if she is your wife? Will she listen to you if you call her? Liu Baikan looked inside. That woman seemed to already be in deep sleep. Meanwhile, the man in front of him was still challenging him. You don't want to cause trouble. No, you want to cause trouble but you don't dare to. You dare to tell me on my property that I'll regret it. It has really been a long time since I met a man who overestimates himself. Why, do you dare to provoke me? I just want to see how you will do that. Let me tell you, I've never seen such a beautiful woman in my life. I like her very much and I won't give her to you. You better get lost from my face. Otherwise, the one regretting it will be you. Damn. Liu Baikan's temper shot up again. He liked her very much. Did he want to do some nasty things to Gu Jingyan? Very well, I just want to see who will be the one regretting now. Liu Baikan really did not intend to cause trouble. He only wanted to take her back, but this person simply had to have such obvious intentions toward Gu Jingyan. He was looking for a death wish. Liu Baikan took a step forward. The Liu family people quickly tried to pull their young master back. However, Liu Baikan even pushed his own people to the side this time. Whoever dares to interfere will be responsible if anything happens to Gu Jingyan. Nobody could afford to bear this responsibility. The few attendants looked at Liu Baiken and were helpless. They watched as Liu Baiken pushed the people in front of him away and aimed a punch at Bernard. Bernard did not expect Liu Baiken to get physical so quickly. He had never seen such a lad who was more arrogant than him. He took a step back from the hit. His lips started bleeding. Fresh blood trickled down and frightened everybody around them. You really dare to hit me? Bernard waved his hand. Get him. Get all these people out of my manor. Your manor? Humph, if you don't let me take Gu Jingze away, I'll burn your rotten house to ashes in a matter of days. Everybody was stunned. Especially those from the Liu family. Did Bernard think that Liu Baiken was joking? No, there was nothing their young master wouldn't dare to do. He was the kind who would really do it. Liu Baiken was notoriously known as the top tyrant in B City. It was not for nothing. Liu Baiken kicked the people coming at him with one leg. When he went in to open the door, someone grabbed his waist from behind. He twisted about, then turned and punched the person, shattering the person's front teeth. The person collapsed to the ground. He then continued his way in and saw the drunken Gu Jingze lying there. Her snake-like body was sprawled across there. How could any man resist? He cursed. This damned woman. However, seeing that his people were already fighting the opposition outside, he hoisted Gu Jingze up. He turned behind and punched a person who caught up to him. Finally, he carried Gu Jingze in his arms and strode out. Gu Jingze was in a blurred state. Outside, he handed her over to his people who were waiting outside. He turned back and saw Bernard's men chasing after him. Liu Baiken thought, you still dare to come after me outside? You're really looking for death. He fiddled with a car and made the gas leak from below. After that, he poured the gas around the small house. When he lit it up, Bernard's men were really shocked. This C-Nation person, he really burned the house when he said he would. Was he trying to burn them to death? They were stopped by the fire. The people behind also didn't follow. They exclaimed anxiously, quick, call for help. Inside, Bernard was stunned. He really did it. Who exactly is this man? Why didn't he think that he would really burn the place down? He hastily ordered his men to stop chasing. Bernard's men all went to put out the fire. The Liu family members turned back to look at the blazing fire. They looked at each other speechlessly. They were done for this time. They caused trouble again. Gu Jingze walked back to the manor. Before he could reach it, his men told him that Liu Baiken already retrieved Miss. Gu Jingze gave Liu Baiken the chance to settle this matter himself. Upon hearing that, he also nodded. However, at that moment, back at the manor, a guard quickly ran towards him. Sir, it's bad. What's up? Madam is gone. Gu Jingze froze immediately. He stopped slightly in his tracks, pushed the person in front of him away, and then quickly walked in. Chapter 514, Lin Che was really unfortunate. Lin Che really felt that she was doomed. She was ridiculously dragged into a car and brought to a small pub. Lin Che got out of the car, pushed one of the drunken men away, and quickly took the chance to run away. Hey, gorgeous, why are you running? Don't run. That man still wanted to pursue her. However, in his drunken stupor, she stumbled and fell a few steps. Meanwhile, people in the pub saw a bunch of drunkards who were driving a car. They quickly reported it to the police. When Lin Che turned back to look, she saw that the drunkards were already being apprehended. She then heaved a sigh of relief. She slowed down, but still jogged and did not dare to stop. After a while, she then stopped and tried to catch her breath. She patted her chest. Heaven knew how she bumped into those people. The culture here was very liberal. Leisurely people often drank wine and enjoyed life in a blur. However, Lin Che had always been with Gu Jingze. Thus, she had never really met people outside. Standing outside now, she realized that she didn't have her phone or money. She couldn't even find anyone who could lend her a phone to call Gu Jingze. She passed by one person and wanted to ask, but she was tongue-tied. She ran through all the English words she knew in her head and realized that she only knew how to say thank you and to introduce herself. She really regretted not learning English or French properly back then. She must have relied too much on Gu Jingze. Lin Che looked around from the side of the road. This wasn't a tourist area where she would normally meet one or two people from C Nation. Today, it felt like such a difficult task to find a familiar face. After standing there and looking around for a long time, she didn't see a single person. The more one wanted something, the more one couldn't get it. When she didn't want to see her fellow citizens, she would see them everywhere. Lin Che stood and watched for a long time. She wanted to ask if there was a police station nearby. She could ask the police how to go back. It looked like there was only one street where the pub was. It was more deserted in the morning. People who had been drinking the whole night at the pub came out and stumbled as they walked. Some people saw Lin Che standing there alone and approached her. But because Lin Che couldn't understand their language, she would keep a distance from them to avoid bumping into bad people. It was not long before more people noticed Lin Che. "Hey, there's a pretty lady who has been standing there." "Yes, she's been there for a very long time. Why don't we go take a look? Perhaps she doesn't know English or French. She looks pretty. Aren't you going to hit on her?" Lin Che saw these young people approaching. They were looking at her and obviously discussing something. Lin Che closed her eyes as her heart pounded. She should probably walk. Perhaps there would be a police station or some sort nearby. Just then. "Hey, are you a tourist? Did you come here alone? There's a hotel here." Lin Che suddenly heard this voice. She turned around and saw a yellow-skinned girl in front of her eyes. She froze and said, "You. Hey, you don't understand English. I'll switch to Mandarin then. Hello, are you a tourist? Are you looking for a place to stay? It's a family-style hotel." "Oh my god, you can speak Mandarin, that's great. Are you from C Nation?" I'm not, but I'm the same race as you." "Really? That's great." Lin Che felt as if she just met her relative. She looked at the young girl in front of her. "I don't know English and I lost my family. I want to ask if there's any police station nearby. Or can you lend me a phone to make a call?" "Did you get lost?" The girl looked Lin Che up and down and could see that everything on her was branded. Each one was more expensive than the other. Her clothes were worth at least a few €100. The girl, "Well, this is a red light district. The police station is not here, it's far away. However, if you need to make a call, I can take you." Red light district? No way, how did she end up here? Looking at it, this peace and quiet in the day were really strange. Lin Che raised her brow speechlessly. "Then what are you doing here? Was she a trafficker?" The young girl looked to be in her teens, but she looked like a very disobedient child. She dolled herself up in a non-mainstream fashion which was fashionable to kids these days. "Relax. I'm a bad person, but it's legal to do those things here. I've never done it. I only pull customers. Of course, I'm not going to force you to do anything. There are plenty of voluntary women here. I won't kidnap you to do whatever you think I would. Just tell me who you want to call and I'll make the call for you. I'll tell them the address here and let your family pick you up, all right?" Since she was so direct, Lin Che had nothing else to say. She nodded and thought that she was going to die anyway. She had no other way out. She couldn't find the police station, and every one of the people here looked like a bad person. She could only take a gamble on this one person she could understand. Lin Che waited outside as she watched the girl take her phone and go in a room. Actually, she wanted to make the call herself. She just needed to borrow the phone for a little while. However, some people would not be willing to hand their phones over. Lin Che thought that it was acceptable to help make the call. If one handed the phone over, what if it got stolen? Although she did not look like a bad person, she could understand if the girl wanted to be on her toes. After all, she was also a stranger. Little did she know. The young girl looked at the girl outside and said to the phone in her cool voice, "I don't know who she is to you, but she is now in my hands. If you want her, give me €500. Otherwise, this is a red light district. I'll sell her to the meanest boss here." The other party paused on the phone and then said, "I'll give you €1,000. Take good care of her." "Really? Okay, I'll take good care of her." The young girl wondered if the other party was a very rich person. She started to regret and felt that she asked for too little. She walked out and sized Lin Che up again. Perhaps she really was a wealthy person. She was very pretty too. On the other side, Lu Baikan stood up. Have you found her? Gu Jingze glanced coldly at Lu Baikan. He did not blame Lu Baikan for Lin Che going missing. However, it was ultimately because of his fight with Gu Jingyan that turned everything into a mess. Gu Jingze actually forgot to look after Lin Che at that moment. He knew that Lin Che had only been overseas a few times and she did not know how to speak English. For her to be alone in a foreign place, even if she wasn't scared, it must have been worrying. Gu Jingze said, that person said that if I give her money, she'll return Lin Che to me. No way kidnapping. I don't think so. Why not? Lu Baikan asked. Chapter 515. Still counting money despite almost being sold off. Why not? Lu Baikan asked. Gu Jingze already put on his coat at top speed. Who would ask for only 500 euros for kidnapping? Alright then, it looked like they met with a rip-off this time. Damn, who dares to rip us off? I'll go have a word with them. That's enough. You better think of how you're going to answer to Bernard. I heard that his manor was burned to ashes and half of his property was burned down. Lu Baikan's feat yesterday was still not over. But after returning and settling Gu Jingyan down, he heard that Lin Che went missing. How could he possibly care about anything else? No matter what, he wanted to find Lin Che. I'll go with you. I'll pay the 500 euros and then help you teach that bastard a lesson. Lu Baikan followed after him and simply hopped into Gu Jingze's car. As they did not want to shock the person, they did not bring anyone with them. It was just the two of them with their chauffeur driving them to the red light district. Meanwhile, at Lin Che's side. Sitting there now, she saw that the girl kept looking at her. She asked, why do you keep looking at me? Oh, it's nothing. Right, these are all my friends. Tony, Martin, and Murray. Is it? Hello. Yes, we roam around here and pull in customers from time to time. Why roam around? Lin Che asked strangely. We ran away from home. Lin Che looked at her and was unable to understand. She hadn't eaten the whole morning and felt hungry. She asked, can we go get some food? Okay, do you have money on you? No, Lin Che looked at them. Go buy some food first. I'll return you the money when my family gets here, okay? She looked at Lin Che and nodded. The few of them walked outside and looked at the breakfast windows. Lin Che chose the food she wanted to eat. The strange-looking breakfast didn't really spike Lin Che's appetite. Then, she saw a Chinese restaurant. She quickly said, oh my, I want to eat that. The girl at the back asked, boss, you really know how to pick the most expensive things. All the shops around here are very cheap. Why did you pick that? They don't really suit my taste. I'll pay you back when my family comes. She replied, okay then. The two of them went in. What would you like to have? A lady inside looked at them and asked. Lin Che wondered why she hadn't seen this Chinese restaurant earlier. She could have come to them for help. It was probably because she didn't quite dare to venture too far, so she didn't walk here. Boiled fish, lamb kidney, sautéed shredded meat. Okay, payment first. Huh, why? The lady boss narrowed her eyes at these kids. These dishes are very expensive. How do I know that you kids won't run away after eating? You must show me that you have the money. Are you kidding me? You look down on us. Lin Che asked. The lady boss scoffed, why don't you show me your money now? Lin Che wanted to, but she really didn't have any money on her. The lady boss saw this and slapped the table. She said, get out, get out. All of you get out. How can you eat in a restaurant if you have no money? Lin Che glared at the lady boss. This was too ridiculous. However, the few kids seemed to already be used to it. They looked at her, shrugged their shoulders, and walked out. Lin Che could only leave in a huff. Without any breakfast, they could only go back. She looked speechlessly at the young girl. Kids of your generation seem to be very notorious. The young girl rolled her eyes. Just then, outside, A car rolled up and made everyone around it turn their heads. The young girl's friends exclaimed, "Wow! A sports car. It looks good. It's vintage. It must be very expensive. It looks like an antique. Is it an old version from here?" Lin Che turned her head and saw a little black car. It looked very European. The car stopped. When Gu Jingze and Lu Baiken stepped out of it, the young girl was stunned. The two men were about the same height. One wore denim and looked like a distinguished rich man. One had a calm and expressionless face. He looked mature in his casual Western clothes. But they were both handsome and had an extraordinary aura. The girl was still stunned while Lin Che said, "Gu Jingze, you guys are here." Lin Che really relaxed the moment she saw Gu Jingze. Gu Jingze watched Lin Che jump down. He strode forward and brought Lin Che into his embrace. Lin Che looked up. "You guys are finally here. I thought I was going to be left on the streets." "Silly girl, why didn't you bring your phone out with you?" Gu Jingze looked down and frowned at her, looking at her travel-strained face. Lin Che said speechlessly, "I thought I was only out to take a breather. It turned out that there are many drunkards here at night." "Of course. It's very messy here," Gu Jingze said. Lin Che said, "Thankfully, I bumped into this young girl who knew how to speak Mandarin. I need to thank her for her help." "Help?" Gu Jingze looked up at the few kids. This Lin Che was almost sold off and she was completely unaware. Gu Jingze said, "It looks like she didn't tell you that I could only take you away if I paid her 1,000 euros. Surprised, Lin Che turned back. "What, you guys?" The girl saw this and the first thing she wanted to do was run. Although they were young, they had been here for a long time. They knew some things and they knew that these two people were no ordinary people. Wouldn't they run if they provoked the wrong people? However, Lu Baiken already ran after them and quickly brought them back. Two kids were caught by the back of their heads. "Are you running away? Don't you want your 1,000 euros? The girl turned to look at Lin Che. She smiled sheepishly. "Sis, is this your boyfriend? He's so handsome, please let me go. I didn't do anything to you. It's just that we ran away from home and needed a bit of money." Lin Che was really angry. "So you really lied to me? You guys wanted to sell me?" "Not at all, sis. We were helping you, weren't we? We just wanted a little fee in return. Also, seeing that they have such a nice car, 1,000 euros shouldn't be a big deal. It's as good as tipping a bellboy, isn't it?" The young girl grinned especially wide. Lin Che could only speechlessly roll her eyes. Seeing that Lu Baiken was still pulling the girl by the collar, she could only say, forget it, forget it. "Young Master Lu, let her go. It's true that nothing happened to me." The young girl was then released. Not daring to ask for anything else, she said to Lin Che, "Thank you, sis. You're the best. No wonder you have so many handsome guys around you. But is that handsome guy really your boyfriend?" Chapter 516, Returning to the country to accept punishment. Lin Che said, He's my husband." The young girl looked enviously at Gu Jingze. "Already married, then I guess there's no hope for me." She had no hope even if he wasn't married. How old was she? She only looked to be in her teens and she already dared to men. Gu Jingze said, "All right, let's go back." Lin Che asked Gu Jingze, "Hey, do you have money?" Gu Jingze replied, "Why do you need money?" Lin Che pulled out Gu Jingze's wallet from his pocket and very quickly found 1,000 euros. She turned to the young girl and said, "Here, for you. Take it as a little token. Don't go selling people off anymore. Also, go back home. Don't roam around outside anymore. Look at the way you dress. It's so ugly." The young girl said, "What? You're saying I'm ugly?" Lin Che waved her hand and said, "All right, I'm going to go eat. I'm starving. You guys should go and eat too." The young girl pouted, "Okay. Don't trust people so easily in the future. You're lucky that you met me. Do you hear me?" She still had the cheek to speak. The young girl watched Lin Che leave and then sighed. It was a pity she was not that lucky to have such a handsome boyfriend. Her father wanted to arrange a marriage for her with an older man when she was young. Of course, she wasn't willing to. That was why she ran away. Because Lin Che hadn't eaten breakfast, she headed to a nearby shop to grab some food before going back. With the two handsome men protecting her, she headed straight to the same street as before. When this antique car stopped, people in the shops around all turned to look. She saw the Chinese restaurant that she went to previously. She looked at the lady boss who stuck out her head to look. After that, under the eyes of the lady boss, she went to a Western restaurant by the side. She ordered plenty of dishes and ate them all. She also gave the restaurant owner a tip. The restaurant owner saw the tip and grinned happily. He personally walked them to the car before leaving. Meanwhile, the lady boss at the Chinese restaurant looked at the stack of money. She pursed her lips, scoffed with jealousy, and walked away. After this incident, Lin Che also asked about Gu Jingze when she went back. Gu Jingze drank too much and was still sleeping. On the other hand, Liu Baikan was met with trouble the moment he went back. Upon entering, he saw a foreign lawyer standing at the entrance. He said to Liu Baikan, "Mr. Liu, sorry to disturb you, but this is a compensation form. You need to compensate us." Liu Baikan took the paper to see. Gu Jingze asked in amusement, "Is it over $1 billion?" "Impossible," Liu Baikan replied. "It's 40 million. "Oh, that doesn't seem so bad." Euros. Lin Che was stunned. What was the meaning of this? Because the other party's property was burned, he wanted 40 million euros as compensation. Wasn't that at least 1 billion yuan? Liu Baikan smiled and asked the lawyer, "That filthy manner is worth that much money?" The lawyer's face was filled with pride. They asked for so much as they expected that the other party would not be willing to pay so much. They would continue to bargain in court. However, his purpose of coming here today was to make the other party humble himself. They wanted Liu Baikan to plead and apologize to them before they lowered the compensation fee. However, Liu Baikan kept his cool smile. After that, before anyone could react, he already punched the lawyer in his head. The lawyer's nose started bleeding. He was so scared that he quickly retreated. He didn't expect the man in front of him to not only be so confident in front of these millions of euros but instead, end up hitting him. Liu Baikan moved his wrist. "Since you're already asking for money, I'm not caring about your medical bills. Coming up here and acting all big. Why don't you take a good look in the mirror?" The lawyer was so frightened that he quickly scrambled and ran away. He provoked someone even wilder than Bernard today. It was Lin Che's first time seeing such an arrogant man. She covered her mouth in shock as she watched the lawyer make himself scarce. She actually thought that it felt good. She couldn't tell that this Liu Baikan was also an emotional person. But just as he was done, a Liu family attendant came from behind and whispered, "First young master sir asked you to go back to C Nation. He probably already knows about this matter." Liu Baikan's head hurt and he pressed against his forehead. "Okay, I got it." It seemed like going back home was an inevitable situation. Gu Jingze said, "Since it's like this, let's prepare to head back." "Yeah, okay." Gu Jingze patted Liu Baikan. "Take care." Lin Che noticed this. She tugged Gu Jingze and asked, "Is he going to get lectured?" Gu Jingze replied, "It's fine. He's already used to it." "No way. He has done this many times. In B City, he was always called the #1 tyrant. Nobody dared to provoke him simply because he used to be very rash. He wasn't afraid of anything. It is also only a small matter this time." Alright then, these wealthy men's sons. On that night, after Gu Jingze woke up, they took the plane home. Gu Jingze and Liu Baikan couldn't look at each other in the eye. They ignored one another. Thankfully, everyone was all resting on their own on the plane. They arrived very quickly. Back in C Nation, Yu Minmin immediately called Lin Che back. She said to Lin Che, "This time, we've really won big." Lin Che said, "Not really. I still had to pay the penalty fee. I asked for 4 million yuan as compensation for defamation. In addition, there are other compensations too, like your endorsements, TV shows and such. We'll be getting back most of what you paid. They will make a huge loss this time. Don't worry." "That good. But of course, don't forget that if you want to play politics with me, I am Madam President. Wouldn't I have some connections in court? I'll drag that Chin Wanwan down. Alright, I feel as if I'm being surrounded by big shots and under all your protection. My luck is really on a roll. Ha ha ha. Anyway, this time, not only did we retain your reputation, but we also didn't lose much money. On the other hand, their demand for more than 7 million yuan has brought their own reputation down to the ground. We became the victims while they still didn't get much in compensation in the end. This hand was good, right? Yes, very. Lin Che listened entirely to Yu Minmin at that time. Although she didn't know why they did not rebut and had to humble themselves, in the end, it was clear that she was right to listen to Yu Minmin. But Yu Minmin said, Gu Jingming told me all these. I just knew that however sly these people were, they could never win against a sly old fox like Gu Jingming. It turned out that all these were Mr. President's ideas. No way such a small entertainment industry problem was solved with the president's plot. She suddenly felt all high and mighty. Chapter 517, Who asked her to be so famous? Yu Minmin said, we'll be heading to the new company to cut the ribbon. Since you've been enjoying your time overseas for the past few days, there's no taking a break now. After you cut the ribbon with me, we still need to go for an interview. Reporters want to interview me? Yes, the news of your return was already released. You definitely must go to the ribbon-cutting ceremony at our new company today. Lin Che went with Yu Minmin and headed to the new company first. The company was Lin Che's studio, so they didn't need a big place. Thus, Yu Minmin quickly found an office building, rented it, and had the rest of the crew move in. They were going to work here from now on. Lin Che reached the office building, got out of the car, and immediately saw many flower bouquets and congratulatory plaques. The doorway could not be obstructed, so they were specially placed inside. Yu Minmin said, those flowers were sent by people in the entertainment circle. Huh, so many? Of course, if you exited badly this time, they probably wouldn't have sent you all these. But now, you're the biggest winner. You left the company and even got the Witch's Diary script. More importantly, everyone knows about Situ Chong's confession and his amorous pursuit for you. Thinking about this, Lin Che was still extremely speechless. Situ, I have yet to see him. If I see him again, I'll beat him to death. Why do you want to beat him up? Anyway, everyone now knows that Situ Chong is madly in love with you. Because you have such a good relationship with this kind of wealthy person, of course, everybody wants a piece of you. The people in this circle are also very practical. It's not the first day you know it. Yes, Lin Che understood. Being in the entertainment circle for so many years, wouldn't she know the fickleness of human relationships? Looking inside, there were big directors, big producers and big companies who have all sent flowers to her. It really made her feel she didn't even know or met some of these people. Now, they wanted to send her flowers and congratulate her. There were even some from directors who won international awards. Oh my god, Director Gu actually sent me flowers. When did I work with him? You didn't, but it doesn't mean you won't. Anyway, you're very hyped up now. Your name has been hanging on the hot topics for a few days already. You probably couldn't feel it when you were overseas, but you'll know it soon enough now that you're back. Lin Che also very soon saw some flowers from famous entrepreneurs. And what are these? They all said that they are your fans. Yu Minmin lowered her head and said, it looks like they are your fans from WW Party. Lin Che was really going crazy. These people also wanted to send her flowers. Everyone saw that Lin Che had returned. They all came up to her and greeted her, Sister Che, you're finally back. Sister Che, we're all Sister Che's people from now on. Lin Che looked at these familiar faces happily. Thank you all for trusting in me this time and coming together to form our own studio. The employees were very happy. They also said enthusiastically to Lin Che, Sister Che, not at all. When we were with Sister Che at the beginning, we were nothing. Now, it's all thanks to you that we have some fame in this industry. You brought glory to all of us. Yes, we're already making a name for ourselves by being with Sister Che. Lin Che looked at everyone. How can that be? We improved together. Without you guys, I would still be the small errand girl Lin Che. Everyone surrounded Lin Che happily until Yu Minmin called her for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Outside, Heads were poking out from other companies in the office building. They wanted to see which new company had such a grand opening. They only knew that it was an artist studio. They were still puzzled as they saw many familiar names from those flowers. Those names were all bosses of big brands. It was just one little artist. How could that person know so many bosses? Also, the flowers were all sent under these names. They all really gave face to her. Very soon, the reporters finally had their interview time. Seeing Lin Che come down, the reporters surrounded her. Did you meet Situ Chong when you came back? Did Situ Chong send you any flowers? Why didn't Situ Chong come for the ribbon-cutting ceremony? Everybody wants to see you and Situ Chong together. Aren't you going to give it to us? Lin Che speechlessly said, "Today is the opening day of my studio. Can you guys ask questions related to my studio?" The reporters said, "Okay, in your studio is Situ Chong there?" This Situ Chong really caused a lot of trouble. On that day, the news published the hot footage of Lin Che's studio's opening. At Qin Wanwan's side, she watched the footage. Everyone lined up to ask her about Situ Chong. It was merely a studio opening, yet they made it seem like it was a major event in the entertainment circle. Qin Wanwan was so angry that she wanted to murder someone. Meanwhile, at Lin Che's side, she was indeed tired after one whole day. She just got back from her trip and was dragged here. There was not a moment for her to rest. Yu Minmin finally looked at the time. She looked at the drowsy Lin Che and said, "Remember, it's the gold medal awards ceremony in a few days' time. You need to go receive your award. Get a good night's rest. We'll go to your house tomorrow and help you pick your gown." What? No way. Too much work was piling up. Lin Che mourned and started to miss the relaxing sunshine in France. Yu Minmin chuckled and said, "You didn't want to settle as Mrs. Gu, you wanted to be a celebrity instead. Also, you had to become famous. If a celebrity has too much work, it means that she is too famous. You should be feeling lucky. Go back and rest." Lin Che also thought that it made sense. When she left the building, she immediately saw that Gu Jingze's car was already parked outside and waiting for her. Yu Minmin smiled and teased her. "I really couldn't tell that Gu Jingze would really be such a dutiful husband." Idiot. Lin Che shoved Yu Minmin and quickly ran over. Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che and then looked at the studio opening plaque behind. "Congratulations," he said plainly. Lin Che sighed, "Gosh, all this work is killing me. Running a company is naturally not an easy thing to do. But you have so many companies. How do you do it? I'm running one now and I already feel as this is simply beyond a human's ability." "Are you saying that I'm not human?" No, Lin Che looked at him appeasingly. "You are a god. You are the most capable god, all right." Gu Jingze raised a brow. "I've never seen a more pretentious expression than when you're praising me." Lin Che grunted, but she was really very impressed by him. Gu Jingze could run so many companies and still keep everything in order. Indeed, not just anybody could be a CEO. "Anyway, everyone sent me flowers. Why didn't you send me flowers as a gesture?" Gu Jingze looked at Lin Che. "If I do that, are you sure your company will still be able to run?" "Huh. Then the reporters today would only ask you how you're related to me." Fine, he was right. To be given flowers by Gu Jingze, there probably hadn't been a sight like that in C Nation. Thus, if Gu Jingze's name appeared here, wouldn't the reporters end up bursting? Chapter 518, That Dog Called Prince. Back at home, Lin Che went straight to look for Prince. She really quite missed Prince after not seeing him for a few days. But Prince looked like he became slightly fatter again. Lin Che squeezed Prince's chubby parts. "Oh right, I brought back presents for everyone but I forgot about yours." Gu Jingze asked from behind, "Why would a dog need some present?" "Of course he does," Lin Che said as she stood up. "Let's just take him out and get one for him tomorrow." The next morning, Lin Che woke up early. Prince always woke up very early and had already gone out to poop. Lin Che prepared to take Prince out shopping. Gu Jingze and Lin Che both wore white casual clothes out. Outside, Lin Che looked down and felt that something was off. Why did they wear such matching outfits? However, it looked like both of them merely took out their clothes at random from their wardrobes as they had too many clothes and were also too lazy to pick their clothes. Thus, they casually picked whatever they could grab. Who would have thought that they would have such chemistry? Facing the morning sun as they went out together, this feeling was very nice. Lin Che was only free in the morning and she had to film in the afternoon. Thus, Lin Che treasured her time very much. She held Prince's leash in one hand and held Gu Jingze's hand in the other. She raised her head and said, "This is great. Let's set off. We'll walk Prince, see what he likes to eat, and buy some for him." Lin Che never owned a dog, but she was certain that dogs definitely love to eat bones. Because of the dog's health, nobody at home actually gave him too much food. Lin Che thought that it would be fine to let him indulge once in a while. Since he liked to eat something, he should eat it. If a dog only had kibbles to eat his entire life, that would be tragic. It was as boring as a human only eating rice in his entire life. Gu Jingze only tagged along. The morning sun was glaring and it was rare that the weather was so good. The sun shone on his white clothes against his honey-colored skin. His long legs were exposed and he looked like a refreshing and charming man. It was simply a treat for the eyes. Lin Che raised her head and looked at Gu Jingze. She felt sweet and her heart was pounding like a young girl's. She felt even happier as she held his hand. Gu Jingze seemed to have sensed the woman's infatuated look. He shook his head speechlessly while his lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. Prince ran around. However, at this moment, he seemed to suddenly smell something. Prince dashed over in that direction. Lin Che was pulled by Prince and also followed him. Wow, why is Prince so excited? Lin Che looked at him strangely. Upon raising her head, she saw that she was in front of a market. The market was bustling in the morning. As the one and only old-fashioned market here, it looked extremely crowded. Lin Che saw a stall selling pork in the distance. She understood why Prince was so excited. Prince is so smart. His sense of smell is so sharp. He could instantly smell something good. Gu Jingze asked, "What?" "That market over there. There's definitely a lot of meat, bones, chicken liver, and all kinds of innards. Dogs love to eat all these. Hey, since we're getting him a present, why don't we buy some chicken liver for him to eat?" Gu Jingze looked over there and nodded. "Let's go." Upon entering, it was dirty inside and water was everywhere. The floor was obviously dirty. There were many people in produce. All kinds of scent mixed together and it felt extremely messy. Lin Che looked up at Gu Jingze. "It's a little dirty here. Are you okay with it?" Gu Jingze stuck out like a sore thumb here. One could immediately tell that he was different from these people. His white clothes were like a unique lotus flower, they looked so clean. Gu Jingze replied, "It's okay. What did you say you wanted to buy?" "Oh, the chicken liver. Come on, it's over there." Lin Che looked up. "Have you ever been to a market?" "No." "That's right, you don't even go to the supermarket that much, what more for a wet market? But the goods in a wet market are very fresh and it's so lively here. All the aunties get up early to buy groceries and they are all so energetic. Look, there's chicken liver over there. Let's go and buy some." They reached a stall that had all kinds of meat displayed. Just as they got there, Prince already couldn't contain himself. He almost wanted to jump up and eat. The stall owner looked like an extremely honest aunt. She laughed and said, "Oh my, this dog is so fat but it still wants to eat. Would you two like to buy anything? Young lady, young lad." Seeing that the couple was good looking, the aunt grinned and looked a lot friendlier. Lin Che said, "We would like some chicken liver for our dog." "Oh, okay, how about some chicken bones? They're especially nice." "No thanks, chicken bones are not that good for dogs. My dog is too small. It's not good for his digestion." The aunt tutted. She picked the chicken liver for them as she said, "Really? Dogs these days eat so well. People couldn't afford to eat this in the past. Now, you're even buying it specifically for your dog. You two must be always giving it good things to eat. Otherwise, how could it become so fat?" Lin Che looked up at Gu Jingze beside her. She pursed her lips and thought, it looks like they always fed Prince dog food that cost at least 1,000 yuan a bag at home. They even had a chef who would specially cook up some vegetables to increase the dog's nutritional intake. This box of chicken liver only cost a few yuan and they normally wouldn't let Prince eat this at home. They were afraid that too much chicken liver would be bad for him. Lin Che said, haha, he has a good life. Thank you, auntie, please weigh it. The aunt said, 3 yuan and 20 cents. Seeing that you two are so beautiful, 3 yuan will do. Thank you, auntie. Gu Jingze looked speechlessly at Lin Che. She happily thanked the aunt just because she decreased the cost by 20 cents. She really took it as a big deal. The two of them walked out with a snow-white, chubby dog in their arms. They looked completely different from the wet market's dirty and messy environment. Gu Jingze said, you thanked her over 20 cents. Of course, 20 cents is still money. Also, this is called manners. It is manners to give a discount, so we should also have manners. Gu Jingze could only shake his head speechlessly. The two of them left the market and strolled back home. She said, walking a dog is really interesting. Let's come out more often when we can. Gu Jingze replied, okay. It's also good to exercise more. Although he personally didn't find it interesting, seeing Lin Che so interested naturally made him oblige. The two of them went home with a bag of livers. Lin Che felt that there seemed to be a gradual increase in people walking their dogs outside. There weren't that many dogs before. Chapter 519, he came over while they were out. Naturally, she did not know that there was a rumor saying that Gu Jingze had 2 dogs and would sometimes bring them out for walks. From then on, many people staying in the area quickly had their attendants buy them a dog. If they ever bumped into Gu Jingze while walking their dogs, they would have the chance to strike up a conversation with the famous Gu Jingze. Lin Che only looked around suspiciously and then brought Prince in. She did not notice someone looking quietly from the entrance of the small neighborhood. That person kept staring and refused to leave. Yang Lingxin quietly watched there. She waited for many days and finally saw the two of them. For the past few days, she couldn't stay at home. She somehow felt that her home was filthy. No matter how many times she washed her bedsheets, it still felt dirty. No matter how many times she washed her clothes, she still felt that they had a smell. This was because she knew that the clothes, bedsheets, and supplies in the Gu household were not only washed but also disinfected. They would smell nice and warm before being placed on the bed. But it was really dirty at home. She had nothing. Yang Lingxin didn't want that kind of life. She wanted a life like Lin Che's and live lavishly as a young madam. At the entrance, she wanted to go in but was turned down. You can't enter unless you have a pass, the guard said. Yang Lingxin retorted, I used to live here. Don't you guys remember me? I used to stay here with Lin Che. The guard only glanced at her. But you don't live here now. Yang Lingxin stomped her foot and could only leave for now. The next day, when Lin Che just went out, she saw Yang Lingxin running to her from the distance. Sister Che, you're finally back. Lin Che looked at Yang Lingxin as she ran over with a face filled with suffering. At the side, the Gu family's guards saw Yang Lingxin, pretended as if they didn't see her, and turned away. Yang Lingxin looked at Lin Che. Sister Che, I missed you so much. Why did you go away for so long? Lin Che looked at Yang Lingxin. Did I? I didn't leave for very long, I've only been away for a few days. As for you, they said that you went back home to recuperate. How are you? Are you okay now? Recuperate back home? Yang Lingxin looked at those guards behind hatefully, but when she turned back to face Lin Che, her expression was weak again. I'm already fine. I just miss Sister Che so much. Can I work at Sister Che's company? Of course. I didn't fire you. Lin Che only felt rather odd. However, she looked at Yang Lingxin and didn't want to think so negatively. She decided to bring her to the office first and then she would ask Yu Minmin what exactly was going on. At the company, Yu Minmin was still in the office. After starting the company on their own, Yu Minmin also worked a lot harder. After all, when she worked in someone else's company in the past, it wasn't convenient for her to do many things. Now, although she was working under Lin Che's name, she was still the head. She saw Lin Che arrive with Yang Lingxin behind her. She hesitated, then smiled normally, and said, Little Shin, you're here. It must be your first time coming to our new company. Go in and get yourself familiarized. You know everybody inside, go in and look for them. Yang Lingxin smiled and went in. After she left, Yu Minmin then asked Lin Che, why is she here again? Lin Che asked, did something happen to her? No, it's just that when she stayed at your house and refused to leave, I felt that she was really a hindrance to you and Gu Jingze's daily lives. That was why I even reminded her that it wasn't good to stay too long. I thought she understood what I meant when I heard that she moved out. When she didn't show up here, I thought that she wasn't going to come anymore. Never mind, I let her stay at my place to recuperate in the first place. Although she later felt that it wasn't such a good thing for Yang Lingxin to continue staying with her, she thought that maybe Yang Lingxin was really shaken by the kidnapping incident. Thus, she didn't make Yang Lingxin leave as she implicated her after all. Yu Minmin said, as long as she's not so childish anymore, I can forget about it. However, I thought she would resign and not come back after that video issue. Lin Che said, me too, I hope that she was just being immature, so she caused all this trouble. Forget it, let's give her a chance. Yes, I'll get people to keep watch on her. During the day, Yang Lingxin's work was very simple. She only helped to do some documents and was very diligent. Because she caused trouble previously, she was no longer as arrogant. She only asked questions sheepishly. At night, Gu Jingze called Lin Che and asked her when she was going home. Lin Che said, I need to talk about the Witch's Diary script with the director and crew tonight. It'll be our very first gathering today, so I shouldn't skip it. Gu Jingze heard this and asked which restaurant it was at. Lin Che replied, it's the restaurant below Saint Hotel. Saint Hotel was a 5-star hotel. The restaurants below were very grand and suited for their gathering. It would make their meeting very formal. Whether the food was good was another matter. However, when Lin Che arrived, she saw that the place was indeed very luxurious. It was one big dining hall, there were no private rooms. Many people were here to dine. When they saw Lin Che, some of them quickly asked for her autograph. Thankfully, the restaurant staff quickly stopped them. Lin Che signed a few autographs, smiled at everybody, and thanked them for their support. In the end, she still brought Yang Lingxin with her. There was no other person in the company whom she could bring. It was inconvenient for Yu Minmin to attend such gatherings now while she only had Yang Lingxin as her personal assistant. Upon entering, the Witch's Diary crew saw Lin Che and quickly got up to welcome her. The director was the most senior while Lin Che was considered a junior. She smiled and greeted everyone. Hello, Director Hu. Hello, Producer Zhang. This is the author, San Kazi. You can just call him San Kai. You haven't worked with this guy yet, right? He's our fresh meat for our new show. You should have also heard of him, Ji Yang. This is the supporting female lead, Xiaomin. She is still a newcomer and has a lot to learn from you. This person will be acting as your master. He's a veteran and you should also know him. The producer introduced each of the members to Lin Che and she greeted everyone. They were extremely harmonious as they ate. Lin Che was now considered someone who shot to fame and was in her prime. Everyone saw that she was not arrogant at all and they all felt very respectful of her. They knew that Satu Chong was pursuing her lately and opened the company with her. They naturally didn't forget to tease her about it. Lin Che could only plead, don't talk about it anymore. Satu Chong is my master and I'm his disciple. A master in one day, a father for life. He and I are impossible. Upon saying that, everyone burst into laughter. However, it is also very impressive that you were able to become Satu Chong's disciple. Just then, someone from outside said that another person was here to dine. Everyone in the restaurant turned to look and the crew also couldn't help but turn their heads. Waiter, what's going on? They asked. The waiter said, apparently, Mr. Gu Jingze is here to dine. Chapter 520, I'll wait for you upstairs. The sound of Gu Jingze's name made Lin Che, who was just stuffing her mouth with food, instantly spit everything out. The person beside her was shocked. Seeing Lin Che gasp heavily, they quickly asked, what happened? What happened? Lin Che, did you choke? They quickly gave Lin Che water and she gulped it down. She slowly calmed down. What was Gu Jingze doing here out of the blue? Lin Che looked up and saw that the crew was still looking at her. She quickly said, it's fine, it's fine. I accidentally choked. Only Yang Lingxin, who was at the side, changed her expression as she watched Lin Che. But Gu Jingze was already walking in. They could see that he was also here to have dinner with others. He wouldn't usually come to such places, right? No, he usually wouldn't even entertain clients with dinners. He had never done things like dine with clients and entertain them. So why did he suddenly show up here today? At this moment, the people around the table started to talk among themselves. That must be Gu Jingze. He looks so poised. But I heard that he has 12 top-notch bodyguards under his hand. Why aren't they here with him today? We're quite lucky today, aren't we? It's our first gathering and we actually bumped into Gu Jingze. Just then, as Gu Jingze walked up along the stairs, his eyes fell directly on them. His gaze accurately and unmistakably landed on Lin Che. Lin Che almost fell. She quickly propped herself up against the table. She gazed back at him and squinted at him. What was he doing here? Why didn't he give a heads up? Now, she couldn't overcome her surprise. When she looked at him, her head felt giddy. Hey, why is Gu Jingze looking over here? He's definitely not looking at us. Exactly. If he wanted to, he must be looking at Lin Che. Well, Lin Che is so pretty. He was really looking at her. Lin Che's thoughts ran in her head. She blushed and said, all right, don't talk nonsense. There's nothing good to see about him. Eat my ass. The people at the table said, why not? That is the wealthiest person in C Nation. It's a rare sight. Exactly. You have Situ Chong, so you don't care, but we've never seen how a wealthy person looked like. There was nothing else she could say. Never mind, let them stare for all they want. She was not going to care. Thankfully, Gu Jingze and his gang very quickly disappeared upstairs. After Gu Jingze left, everyone seemed to still be in shock and were chatting non-stop. However, their voices gradually grew quiet. Lin Che heaved a sigh of relief and then heard her phone vibrate. She immediately had a bad feeling when she took out her phone to see. It was indeed from Gu Jingze. It was a simple message, have a good dinner. Don't let your mind wander. Lin Che replied to him exasperatedly, who asked you to come? You didn't even tell me. Within a second, her phone chimed again. This time, it was a phone call. Looking at the words on the screen, she hastily smiled to the rest, it's a call from the company. You guys go ahead, I need to answer this. After that, she ran to the back, made sure that there was no one around, and picked up the phone. Boss, what are you doing? I only thought about it when you mentioned it. I indeed forgot to tell you. It's my bad and that's why I'm telling you right now. He was definitely playing with her. What was the point of telling her now? What was the point? Why are you here? To eat. Why did you come all the way here to eat? It was just nice that someone invited me to dinner. I recalled that you were also here, so I thought that I might as well come. Fine, a big CEO was really so casual. Lin Che said, forget it. Go eat your dinner and I'll eat mine. We shall not disturb each other. Okay, enjoy your dinner and recharge yourself. Later. Later what? Lin Che grew cautious and had a feeling that he had something up his sleeves. Later, I'll wait for you upstairs. What? Why would you wait for me upstairs? Gu Jingze said, room number 1088. After that, he hung up. Lin Che froze and didn't react for a long time. When she finally understood what he meant, she was speechless. He wanted to. Was he mad? They had such a big house, but he came to the hotel. But it was rather crazy, but also rather exciting. Lin Che blushed. Thinking of how Gu Jingze was upstairs having dinner, she somehow could not calm her heart down. When she returned to her seat, she was radiating. The rest who looked at her asked, Lin Che, was that from the company? Why do you look so radiant? Lin Che speechlessly said, how am I radiant? Go eat your dinner. Everybody laughed and didn't pry in the artist's personal life. They knew that all these celebrities wanted to enjoy the glory on stage and face their own personal affairs at the same time. Otherwise, a small matter just like the contract termination issue would blow up beyond control. Thus, artistes were all very cautious when it came to their privacy. As for the crew who knew that many artists were very secretive, they also had their traditions. One of them was that they absolutely would not leak any private information about the artist to the public. Otherwise, they would be breaking the rules of the industry. This was also considered one of the rules in the industry. After a while, everyone had quite a bit to drink and were more open in their conversation. The director looked at Lin Che and said, "Lin Che, your acting skills are really very good. You are much better than Qin Wanwan. You both are very similar and she is not bad looking, but her acting skills can't match up to yours." Lin Che didn't know what to say and could only listen quietly. The director said, "I wanted to pick you that day, but it's a pity that your company stopped me. Now, it is all good. We are still destined to work together in the end. It looks like this is heaven's will. Although there were some obstacles, this role was destined to be yours." Lin Che smiled, "I'm also very honored." No, your love for this little novel will definitely make you portray the character better. We have great faith in you. Thank you all for trusting me." As they chatted, it was already getting late. Lin Che was worried that Gu Jingze would become anxious. She took out her phone and secretly sent him a message to say that she would be a little late. Upstairs, Gu Jingze finished his dinner long ago and was waiting for her. He read his book and sat there, looking at the night scene below. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. He smiled and walked over. However, when he opened the door, his eyes narrowed. The woman in front of his eyes was not Lin Che. Gu Jingze looked at Yang Lingxin in front of him. "You." Yang Lingxin looked at Gu Jingze passionately.